At this point, you've probably heard of The Day Before. However, the marketing has been pretty sloppy and it's been pretty far from easy to navigate. So with that being said, this video will act as everything you need to know about The Day Before in one place in full detail. I'm Falling Hurts, and if you're new here, consider subscribing. I do reviews as well as news videos like this from time to time, as well as other one-off gameplay, things like that. The Day Before is an open-world zombie survival MMO featuring PvP as well as other social elements that's being developed by Fantastic Games for PC first and then later the Xbox Series X and S, as well as the PS5. If you're unfamiliar with Fantastic's work, they've previously released Prop Night, a 4v1 asymmetrical multiplayer game that combines Prop Hunt and Dead by Daylight. Their only other work of any note is a relatively well-regarded survival game known as The Wild 8, but it is very different from The Day Before. Another important thing that I like to note with developers is usually the size of the team. And as of about a year ago, it was said in an interview that they were 70 members strong and growing, and that was, at the time, at least remote. Again, it's been over a year, those teams have been split probably into Prop Night and The Day Before's development, but we'll see how that pans out in the end. Now with that being said, the publisher is one of little known quantity as far as most gamers are concerned, having only released Prop Night so far on Steam, and that publisher is Mytona. Speaking of Steam though, however, it's time that we need to talk about the release date and the delay that has just occurred. In an exclusive update with IGN, this message was released. Millions of people have added The Day Before to their wishlist, making The Day Before one of the most anticipated games in the world. Feeling and understanding the great responsibility that we face, with enormous gratitude in our hearts, we are pleased to announce that The Day Before is switching to the new Unreal Engine 5 technology. The transition to a more advanced and adapted open world engine will make the gameplay of The Day Before even more fantastic. In this regard, we inform you that the new release date of the game will be March 1st, 2023. Okay, breaking this down, I'm very happy with the fact that Fantastic seemingly finally understands what their fans want as far as communication goes for this one moment. It's been very radio silence up to this point, and that is extremely unacceptable. However, what they can do now, if this release date is to be believed, is bunker down and show the game when it's completely ready and just mark it from there. Because unfortunately, up till this point, the PR campaign has been utterly bizarre, and like I said in the opening to the video, impossible to follow easily. Now, of course, the good news here is that The Day Before will be ported to the Unreal Engine 5. Assuming that it was already on Unreal Engine 4, this shouldn't be as hard as porting something from an in-house software into Unreal Engine. So I actually don't know how long it would take. I would actually expect it to take less time, and that brings me to my next point. A delay of the game this far out is one thing. However, the issue is they're just now announcing the swap in engine, which means this is either a really sloppy development, or this was always the plan and they just never stated it. Again, poor campaign. But either way, I don't recommend pre-ordering this game. No matter what you do not pre-order The Day Before there are some reviews out there. Just because you can't always trust what you see, and as much as I would love to be hyped for this game, and I really am, as you'll see throughout the rest of this video, it's kind of sketchy. Jumping back to the tech and on a little bit more of a positive note, the game has already been confirmed to have full RTX support in terms of both DLSS as well as reflections and global illumination. So of course the game will look much better, but with the DLSS inclusion, deep learning super sampling, the game will perform at a much better frame rate. The visuals and performance should also get a boost from the Unreal Engine 5 port due to features like Nanite and Lumen technologies at the forefront of the new features added. All of this allows for complex, handcrafted open worlds to occur. While we're not exactly sure how big the map is, there's no doubt it's large as it incorporates the big city as well as American farmlands and even forest and snowy mountains. Adding to that, there's also a full dynamic weather system that can make the game unpredictable and deadly too. On top of level variety, there's also the Woodbury Survival Camp that acts as the player hub for both story content and NPC quests, as well as also a safe space to meet other players without PvP. The devs even went as far as saying in an interview that there will be a reputation system that is put into play here. I would assume it's probably going to be boosted by doing NPC quests, and probably dropped down by randomly killing players with PvP. Think like GTA Online. The devs have expressed interest in doing events here, like holidays, for instance, but wouldn't it be cool if they said The Weeknd was a survivor in this world, and that eventually you could have him as a survivor in the game, who would put on a concert in the Woodbury Survival Colony. No, I mean seriously, look at me and tell me that wouldn't be cool as shit. Like, ooh, I'm blinded by the fucking lights, you know what I mean? But speaking of colonies and towns, There isn't a traditional base building system in The Day Before, like there would be in, say, Rust or Ark Survival Evolved, but whatever is implemented is said to be more similar to something like Animal Crossing. So this leads me to believe that we can buy and furnish a home in the Woodbury Survival Colony, and I'm not exactly sure how that would work, but maybe the reputation system comes in here. Perhaps as you reach a new tier of reputation, more items become unlocked that you can purchase. And while the colony is a really cool aspect, it's in the open world that survival is going to be a pretty harrowing experience in The Day Before. Players will need to be mindful of both positioning and their noise levels as to not attract enemy players or, even more importantly, the zombie horde. Stealth in the game isn't as simple as shoot or don't shoot either, but also how heavy the player is determines how much noise they make based on how loaded the inventory is. If peace isn't an option, players will find a combat UI very similar to The Last of Us that provides cinematic flair while also being very grounded. The player has 3 status meters to maintain that are nourishment, energy, and temperature, and while exploring, the player will have to maintain these 3 meters to be in tip-top shape for any situation. Through these explorations, you'll be looking for resources to better your situation as a survivor, but that doesn't just stop at food and weapons, but vehicles as well. Yes, player vehicles are in The Day Before, from jeeps all the way up to tanks. They all seem to serve a purpose and have a unique role. For instance, some vehicles are faster, while others could probably get through the thick muddy swamps a little bit easier. Maintenance for these vehicles seems to be a big component, from filling up the gas tank to even fixing the tires that are flattened. Now I know I've skipped around enough, so let's focus on the PvP aspects of the game for just a minute. First off, there is no leveling or RPG mechanics in the game that will put any player above any other player in the game. Meaning that if I were to level up in any other game and I put a lot of points in health, you would hate to have to hit the same guy with a shotgun multiple times just because the PvP demanded an upgrade tree. So there will be no unbalanced player interactions as far as that's concerned. However, the dev has said that there will be some form of progression in the game, but I suspect that'll probably be through something like weapon blueprints. But secondly, there is complete freedom to do as you choose. So you don't have to opt into PvP, say like Fallout 76, where the other player needs to accept it before they can actually take damage. It's only shoot first and ask questions later, and after you've downed an enemy, you have even more options to choose from. You could potentially heal them if you'd like to, or do a combat finisher closer to something like Apex Legends or Call of Duty, or you can just shoot them if that's your way too. But another thing that they talk about doing is that you can even tie them up, giving the example that you could use them as bait for a horde of zombies, which sounds really fucking interesting. A large portion of the game is also PvE, which is where players are facing off against the AI enemies. The infected won't have any acid breath or anything like that, as the devs are hoping to keep the zombie archetypes as believable as possible, with only variations around the physique, for instance faster zombies or tankier, maybe slightly bigger, heavier zombies. Of course, hundreds of these zombies will no doubt populate the open world at any given time, but taking place at the in-game universe Azure Initiative's labs are seemingly multiple PvE game modes. Some ideas would be either like raids, or even wave-based survival was something mentioned in an interview. Either way, this will probably be an ideal location to build a squad to accomplish your mission. Zombies aren't the only AI enemy in The Day Before, however, because there are also human NPCs, who, from what I can tell, any ones that you run across that aren't in the Survivor Colony will be hostile. And it very well could be that they would be in the Azure labs as well, but you'll have to let me know what you think is going to be there altogether. Post-launch support for the game also seems pretty bright, and the dev seems pretty optimistic, at least as of the last year, including things again like the holidays and concerts with stars, but also new locations, weapons, skins, and cars. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did, but overall I'd say this is a pretty robust offering if it's something that can be delivered as promised. And there you have it, guys. There's everything I think you actually need to know about The Day Before it comes out. Next-gen consoles, the new release date, as well as a pretty good overview of what the game is. Of course, you should know how these open-world survival games go. There's a community that comes with it, and if that's not your thing, then playing offline may be your only option. That's everything I have for this video, but one final thing I did want to talk about was my favorite thing I've seen about The Day Before so far. And those are the parody brands that you see throughout all the world in all the trailers so far. You can see for yourself, and I'm not going to go over them all together, but like McReynolds, the McDonald's brand, as well as like Uber Eats in one of the trailers, and just plenty of other things. It's really interesting. Which one's your favorite, and honestly, what are you most excited for with The Day Before? Let me know down below, but Anyways, once again, I'm Falling Hurts. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if it helped at all, then consider subscribing. I like to try to hit on things that other people may have looked over or forgot, and if there's anything here that I said that was new to you, let me know. Anyway, thanks. Bye.